President Obama says fighting ISIS is a top priority, but he's being criticized for his reluctance to send in ground troops. Today, presidential candidate Hillary Clinton outlined her plan for combating ISIS. Clinton is calling for more airstrikes and a broader target, but she stopped short of saying ground troops need to be mobilized, at least in Syria. Fellow Democrat Bernie Sanders also discussed his strategies, and on the other side of the aisle, some Republicans say more needs to be done now on the ground to stop the spread of ISIS's power. To talk more about this is political analyst Brian Sobel joining us now live. Brian, thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Kiba.
So, Brian, it's been almost a week now, and since the attacks in Paris, how has this changed campaigning, at least this week, out on the trail for these candidates?
Well, it has become the centerpiece of their discussions out on the campaign trail, and you've noticed that in this, Hillary Clinton has had to take a position on it, and Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side. The Republicans were mostly there already, talking about the need for stepped up security, for more military power and use. So it really, the net effect on Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders has been that they've had to really start looking at this issue and telling people where they stand on it.
Are voters really depending on them now? Are they looking to see who can keep us safe?
I think always that is a key thing when you're selecting a president. Do you feel like that person can keep you safe? Now, that doesn't mean that issues don't crop up. Look at how Bill Clinton was able to beat George Herbert Walker Bush by talking about the economy. But Bush was acknowledged to be a foreign policy expert.
Okay, let's talk about both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
We'll start with the Democrats. Let's listen. We've heard from both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders today. Let's take a listen.
Our strategy should have three main elements. One, defeat ISIS in Syria, Iraq, and across the Middle East. Two, disrupt and dismantle the growing terrorist infrastructure that facilitates the flow of fighters, financing, arms, and propaganda around the world. Three, harden our defenses and those of our allies against external and homegrown threats.
But let us be very clear. While the United States and other Western nations have the strength of our militaries and our political systems, the fight against ISIS is a struggle for the soul of Islam, and countering violent extremism and destroying ISIS must be done primarily by Muslim nations with the strong support of their global partners.
Okay, so we're hearing Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Will this change the race, at least on the Democratic side, or is Hillary Clinton so far ahead, so strong, she'll be the nominee?
She'll be the nominee, but Bernie Sanders makes a comment that does resonate with some people, and that is that this should be a regional situation, that countries that have been sitting out, quite frankly, because they knew that they would be in trouble with their neighbors if they got involved. He's calling on them to be part of the solution, and that's going to resonate with some people. So where he is going to continue to be in this campaign is sort of the voice of conscience from the left center. And Hillary Clinton has to listen to what he's saying and react to that, because eventually she has to appeal to people on the other side of the aisle when the primaries are over.
Okay, on the Republican side, totally different situation. It seems
Absolutely.
like this could be an opportunity for someone to step up and say, yes, I can keep our country safe. Today we heard from one of the front runners,
right.
Ben Carson, who made what some are calling just an odd analogy. Let's listen to him first.
If there's a rabid dog running around your neighborhood, you're probably not going to assume something good about that dog, and you're probably going to put your children out of the way. Doesn't mean that you hate all dogs by any stretch of the imagination. By the same token, we have to have in place screening mechanisms that allow us to determine who the mad dogs are, quite frankly. Who are the people who want to come in here and hurt us and want to destroy us?
Okay, so many analysts are saying that Ben Carson just doesn't have the foreign policy chops, and he's just not as up to speed as some of the others. What do you say on the Republican side?
Well, I think without piling on, Carson continues to run out these really poor analogies, and his thinking on foreign policy isn't really developed. That's just true. And so he's vulnerable to other people saying, you don't have the foreign policy chops, and that's going to be an ongoing problem for him.
Who is stepping up on the Republican side, do you think, is going to be able to maybe show that I have the experience, I can lead us and keep us safe?
Well, I think you're going to hear a lot from Marco Rubio. I think Jeb Bush is still in the mix there a little bit. Ted Cruz, John Kasich. You have some people that are there.
So the politicians, not the outsiders,
well,
not Carly, Ben, and Donald Trump.
Well, the problem is that people know that Donald Trump has no foreign policy experience. Ben Carson, similarly. You could make a case that Carly Fiorina has traveled the world, but again, it's got to be somebody who's run something where they've been able to have to call on the military or something else, and that's not those three people.
Okay, we will see, of course, if this will come up in our next debate as well.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Okay, political analyst Brian Sobel, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Kiba.
All right, let's send it over to you, Mike.